All right, we're live on YouTube. Thank goodness. That was going to be not good. All right, I'll put this on YouTube. What have you spent the most time doing this week? I feel like that question, the way I phrase it, is still incorrect. The most time. I don't know. Anybody have any answers to that question? What have you spent the most time doing this week? Sorry, YouTube, you guys are kind of behind. My computer was freezing up a little bit, but now you're live. Instagram been live for a couple more minutes than you have. The question I have is, what have you guys spent the most time doing this week? What have y'all been up to this week? I miss y'all. I hope everything is going well with you. I hope you're healthy. I hope your families are healthy as well. What have you guys spent the most time doing? A week ago, I had some Cracker Barrel in my office, so I still got some leftover syrup. If anyone needs any syrup, I got you. Let me know. I haven't seen any responses to that question. Are y'all with me? Okay. Okay, so Alexis corrected the way the answer should, or the question should be. So I pinned her question. What have you spent most of your time doing? Okay, that's the correct way to ask that question. Thank you. I'm struggling with words today. What have you guys spent the most time doing this week? What have y'all been up to? Alexi said sleeping. Lauren said schoolwork. Oh, that's not fun. Chloe said sleeping. Hi, Chloe. I missed you. I haven't heard from Chloe in a while. Sleeping, schoolwork. Who we got on YouTube? What have you guys been up to this week? What have you been spending your time doing? Sleeping, schoolwork. Let me tell y'all, I went home on Monday, and my plan was to stay there until Friday. But I totally forgot about some assignments that were due on Friday. So I had to come back on Thursday because I forgot the books that I needed for the assignment on Friday. So I understand that school thing, man. Alexis has been watching movies. Very fun. I watched a couple of movies with my family. One of the movies we saw was 2012. You guys remember that movie? It came out in 2009 because everyone thought the world was going to end in 2012. So like it was like the Mayan calendar was a big deal at that point, and everyone was kind of scared about that. Little did they know the world would be shooken up by a little small virus. Isn't that crazy? I don't think people expected the world to be affected by a virus. Well, to this scale, at least, you know. Watching movies. All right, anybody on YouTube? What have y'all been up to? Then we'll move ahead into some talk on Matthew chapter 6. I'm so sorry that I was so late in getting out the materials I send out every week. This has been a crazy week. I had a lot of assignments due. I still got an assignment due today that I was supposed to turn in yesterday. But hey, here we are. I have a professor. His name is Dr. Gray. He says, you can call me Dr. Grace because I'll give you some grace. So I said, okay, I will take that grace and I'll turn in my assignment late. Yeah. Are any other people on here? Anyone else on here that want to respond to that question? What have you spent the most time doing? Put the brightness up. Oop. Okay. I was paused for a second. Now we're back. All right. So it's 10:07. We've been on this thing for about 7 minutes. So let's go ahead and get into Matthew. We've been talking about kind of spiritual disciplines and things that Jesus expects his followers to do so that they can be more connected to the Father. We talked about giving a couple weeks ago. We talked about prayer last week. And today we're going to talk about fasting and how Jesus expects his followers to fast. So look at Matthew chapter 6, verses 16 through 18. Verse 16, when you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others they are fasting. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. So Jesus is laying out a blueprint for us. He's expecting his followers to fast, and when they do this, they can't do it in a way of arrogance, in a way of arrogance, in a way of pride, in a way of boasting and showing people how holy and set apart and righteous you are. This is not how Jesus expects his followers to fast. Jesus wants his followers to fast out of humility. Out of humility. With that in mind, let's focus on that word for a second. How would y'all define humility? Right in the comments below. How would you define the word humility? Because this is at the heart of what we're discussing when we're talking about fasting. How would you define humility? Give me some definitions of humility. We keep going in and out with our viewers here. I guess everyone's kind of just struggling with Wi-Fi. And I wonder if Wi-Fi is a problem now, because more people that are at home and they're using the weaker Wi-Fi, because our home Wi-Fi's are not as strong as like the corporate Wi-Fi's. So I wonder if like across the world people are struggling, or across the states people are struggling with Wi-Fi. How would y'all define humility? Lauren said modesty. Ooh, that's important. Being modest. Okay, maybe modest and maybe even your apparel. Haley Stroud joined us. Hey Haley, welcome. Modest in your behavior. I guess there's a lot of ways that you can show modesty. Tanner just said literally nothing. What is that? Oh, that's what I thought he meant, humility. Tanner has spent most of his time doing nothing this week. Alessi said putting others before yourself. Humility is putting others before yourself. Okay. Give me one more definition of humility. Tanner, how would you define humility? How would you define humility? This is at the heart of what Jesus is talking about when he's talking about fasting. Humility needs to be considered. Give me one more thing. Humility. How would you define that, man? Humility. Modesty, putting others before yourself. Anything else? Humility. Okay, well, let me show you how the hypocrites that Jesus is referring to, how he showed that they were not doing this out of humility. First of all, he's talking about them disfiguring themselves. You know what disfiguring is? Back in the Old Testament times, they would put ash on their face. They would rip their clothes. They wouldn't shower, so they'll be smelling, so that they wanted people to know what they were doing. They wanted people to know that, hey, I'm fasting. And this is not humility. When you're fasting, you're doing it for God and not for others. You know, you're not doing it to be seen by others. This is not the purpose of fasting. And we've been talking about attention and how you can get attention, and how all of these things you're doing could give you attention. But like, what are you going to do with that? Like, and attention, and like, what else? Like, if you're doing stuff for attention, you're going to get attention. But then what? Right? Jesus is trying to get us to focus on things that are deeper than that. And he's finishing what Isaiah talked about in Isaiah chapter 58. In Isaiah chapter 58, the prophet Isaiah is talking about bad ways to fast and how we can fast with ill intentions. And if you see our notes that I emailed to you, you can see that, and kind of you can look that up yourself and kind of see what Isaiah is saying about fasting. So the hypocrites, they're fasting without humility, and the way they're doing that is making a show, doing the most. All right. To fast with humility, you got to fast with humility. Fasting with humility requires humility. All right, let me explain myself. First of all, that humility looks like taking care of yourself and brushing your teeth. When you fast, I don't know. I feel like I've done it before, and I feel like my breath is hot when I fast, and like my breath smells. And I think if you fast for a long time, your body starts to smell, especially if you don't shower and take care of yourself. So Jesus wants us to take care of ourselves so that this could be something between me and the Lord. Your neighbors don't need to smell your breath and know what you're doing. You know, you can do this in a humble way. I think there's a reason Jesus went away and fasted in the wilderness alone, right? Do you think that happened for a reason? I think he needed to focus, and he needed that time to be about him and the Lord, pouring the Lord pouring directly into him, right? Humility requires secrecy. Requires secrecy. It needs to be something in secret. Why is secrecy such a big deal? Let's break that down for a second. Why is Jesus so concerned about secrecy? Keeping it on the DL. Why is secrecy such a big deal, guys? To give you a recap as you're thinking about that, first of all, we're talking about the fact that the hypocrites, they show no humility when they're fasting because of their approach to others and their approach to God. Secondly, fasting requires humility. To fast humbly, we got to have humility. So that means what we're doing for ourselves, or we taking care of ourselves, we're brushing our teeth, we're putting deodorant on, we're shaving, we're not putting those ashes on our faces, even though we don't do that today. We're not doing that. How would y'all, the question I had about secrecy, why is secrecy such a big deal for Jesus? What do you think? Secrecy is such a big deal. And then we'll get into the major points of fasting. Why is secrecy such a big deal, guys? Why is secrecy such a big deal? We got about 9 people total. We got 3 on YouTube. We got 6 on Instagram. Why is secrecy such a big deal, guys? Keep it a secret. Okay, there it is. Why is secrecy such a big deal? Tanner, you haven't been responding to me. Are you still here, buddy? I hope my audio's been coming up. I don't see it on here. All right, Alexa says, no one knows what you're doing if it's private between you and God. This shows your motives. Secrecy shows your motives. It shows your intention and why you're doing these things. Yes, I love that. Very good answer. Man, there was a quote I read trying to put this together earlier. It was fire. I don't know if I even wrote it down. It was about secrecy. But let me see if I can find it, y'all. Well, I think I just wrote this myself, so it might be my own quote. We might be judged, or we're going to be judged according to what happens both in public and private. And the thing is, human beings don't know what happens in private. Y'all know me. Everyone watching this, y'all know me, but you don't know what I do at home. You don't know what happens at home because you don't come home with me. Like, even if you lived with me, you don't know what I do in my room. And even if you shared the same room as me, you don't know what's in my mind. You don't know what's in my heart. So I think God is so concerned about this because this is what God sees. He sees everything. He sees what you show with the people at church. He also sees what you show in your mind and in your heart. Right? So this is why I think he's so concerned with secrecy, and it's such a big deal to go into your room or to do this in a way that is intimate. There are parts of your life that I will never know. There's parts of your life that maybe only your wife will know, or your husband will know, or only your mom and your dad will know, and that's okay. These are intimate, and this is the purpose of things like fasting and prayer, is to get this intimate time, to build intimacy with the Lord. Tanner, when you get married and you start your business, Tanner, and you get your wife, I'm not going to be going on dates with your wife, like with you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be the third wheeling. I'm not going to be third wheeling with you, Tanner. Your mom is not going to be third wheeling with you when you get married. And why is that such a big deal? Because that time is for you and your wife, right? The intimacy is for you and your wife. Okay, which goes to the last point about fasting. The point of fasting is humility before God. And we can say the same thing about prayer, about giving, humility. When we fast, we're reminding ourselves how high God is, how great he is, and how much we need him. Let me dwell on that question. What makes God so great? Give me some responses to that question. It should be an easy question, but let me see some responses. What makes our God so great? He's higher than any other. He's higher than us in every way. I don't want to give you all the answers, but what makes God greater than us in every way? What makes him greater? God is good. God is great. Remember that prayer? Let us thank us for our food, by our heads. I forgot how it goes. But what makes our God greater? I think it's good to remember these things and reflect upon those things, because I think that's what keeps us humble. Remember when I used to tell y'all about prayer? Like when I used to pray, I used to try to pause a little bit and try to think about like the universe and how big the universe is and how big God is. And I used to think about something as small as an ant and how God gave an ant a heart. God gave an ant a brain. God gave those little ants blood. And then he made the universe. Like, okay, all right, give me some more things. Grace, his son, and creation. Okay, Chloe. Chloe said, what's great about God is his grace, his son, and his creation. Come on, that'll preach. Alessi said his power and authority, but also his compassion and love. Oh, I love that. What else makes God great? I want at least two more answers. What makes our God great? You know what song I'm thinking about? Our God is awesome. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I'll play a little snippet as y'all are giving me some things. What makes our God great? Wrong song. Our God is awesome. Oh, there's a commercial. Ignore the commercial. Ignore the commercial. All right, I'm waiting for at least two more responses to that question. What makes our God so great? And here's it. If y'all haven't heard this song,
if you know he's awesome, come on.
If you know he's awesome, stand on your feet, everybody. If you know he's awesome, stand on your feet. Y'all know that song? Okay, I'll stop it. I was gonna sing for y'all, but I decided not to. What makes our God awesome? Our God is awesome. I forgot the lyrics, guys. You guys put me on the spot. Savior of the whole world. Okay. What makes our God awesome? What makes him awesome? Give me one more response. What makes our God awesome? Did I get one from? Okay, I got one from Chloe and some more points of fasting. So we fast to remind ourselves how great and how high God is. We fast to have private communion with this God. We set aside time to focus on God. And then last, we fast to imitate Christ. Christ in his humanity thought it was necessary to go away for 40 days and fast. Think about that. The Son of God thought it was necessary to go away for 40 days and fast in the wilderness. He also thought it was necessary to constantly sneak away to go and pray. Multiple times throughout his ministry, he snuck away to go and seek communion and fellowship with the Father. So who are we to think that we don't need that same thing, right? All right, what else makes our God great and awesome? I think you guys got scared responding because I started singing to you. I'm sorry. Sorry for singing to you. What makes our God awesome? Christ and his humanity sought to connect with the Father. And why would he need to do that? I'm thinking about what we talked about so many times in Philippians chapter 2, where Paul says that Jesus emptied himself. Y'all got that? Becoming a baby, becoming man, and because he emptied himself, he needed to fill himself with the Lord, and he had to fill himself with all these things, right? Because of that emptying. Give me something. All right, if you don't know what to respond to that, give me some takeaways, guys. When we're talking about fasting, why does it always seem like these live streams go by so quickly? They just fly by, y'all. I don't like it. All right, give me some takeaways. What are we taking away from what Jesus is saying about fasting? What is he saying? What are we taking away? What are we putting in our pocket as we go home? What are some things we taking away about fasting? Let me text Alexis and make sure we're still live. What are some takeaways, guys? What are some things we can take away? I feel like I scared everybody away. Are you guys still with me? What are we taking away as we're talking about fasting? What is Jesus teaching us to go and apply in 2020 on March 29th, 2020? Y'all know I turned 24 last week, and one of my goals is to move forward. So I'm now 20-forward. I'm moving 20-forwardly. In 2020, I'm moving 20-forward. 20-forwardly. Okay, let me stop. No one is telling me whether or not we are live. Do I need to call someone to make sure that we're still streaming? Are we still together? I know I'm on my data, so it might be slower. Oh man, it's pausing every other second. That's not good. That's not good at all. Oh no. Let me try to connect to Wi-Fi. All right, we are connected to Wi-Fi. I hope that helps. Alexis told me it was pausing every other second. Oh man. Hope y'all were getting what I was saying. Are y'all with me? Let's see if it's gonna load some comments here. Okay. Y'all with me still? Hope your Wi-Fi is not slow as well. Still got Lauren here, still got Alechi, still got LeMay, still got Chloe. All right, are you guys with me? Okay, I think it's fine now. Okay, the question I had for you guys is what are we taking away when Jesus is talking about fasting? What are some things that we can take away about what he has said? Chloe said, human attention is short-lived, but getting God's attention will last. Yes, very short-lived. Who do you know that's famous forever? You know, don't y'all know? Look, I don't mean to get like dark and sad, but don't y'all know in like 100 years, no one's gonna know that Wesley existed, especially since I'm not like famous, like in the world standard. No one's gonna know who I am in 100 years because like my ancestors will be gone. I mean, my kids will be gone and all that. If you go to 200 years or 300 years, 400, 500 years, nobody is gonna know about me. Like think about it. Think about 500 years ago, somebody living in Millington. Like unless you're famous or popular or does something crazy in your life, no one really remembers you. You know. Unless you talked about keeping fast between you and God. And I said that stuff about people remember you just to remind you guys about life and how it's a mist, right? Well, this life is a mist, but we're talking about eternity with the Lord, you know. Keep it between you and God. Okay, keep fasting between you and God. We'll cling onto that as we close. What is the purpose of fasting? Chloe said to humble yourself when you're fasting. Okay. What is the purpose of our fasting, guys? Give me that answer to that question. What is the purpose? According to what Jesus is saying here, what is the purpose of this fasting? It brings you closer to God. This is the purpose. Fasting is not to let others know how righteous you are. Fasting is not a way to get attention. The purpose of fasting is to connect yourselves to the Father. And we can do this also through praying and through giving and through reading the scriptures. But there's something that fasting does. When you say, okay, I'm going to deprive myself of something that is necessary to focus on something that is necessary. Y'all get what I mean? You got to eat to survive, but you need the Lord to survive as well. Do you understand that? I think sometimes we can fill ourselves so much with not just food, but with social media, with our phone, with what we're watching, that we forget to fill ourselves with something that's more sustaining. You can't survive off of fast food. I mean, I guess you can survive, but you're not going to survive healthful in a healthy way. I tried to make healthily a word, but that's not a word. You can't survive off of fast food. And I think this is what we're trying to do when we're not trying to draw our strength from the Lord. All right, any thoughts about the purpose of fasting? We had two people just join us and we're wrapping up right now. I don't like that. I don't like that we're wrapping up when people just started joining us. Okay. Any other thoughts about fasting? And back to my main point, humility is a focus here. Jesus is saying these hypocrites, they're fasting wrongly because they're not fasting out of humility. They're trying to be shown or show themselves. They're trying to do it out of attention. When we're fasting, we got to keep ourselves humble, cleaning ourselves, brushing our teeth so that we're not making a show. And lastly, the purpose of all of this is to be humble before the Lord, to let the Lord know that I need you. Let God know that we need him and that we're dependent on him. Chloe said you are putting human needs on the back burner for spiritual needs when you're fasting. Yes, that's right. This is the idea. This is the purpose. So I want to challenge y'all. Take some time this week to deprive yourself. Take some time today to deprive yourself of something that you think you need for something that you know you need. Did y'all get me? Deprive yourself today of something that you think you need for something that you know you need. So maybe you can deprive yourself of some a meal, deprive yourself of some food for the whole day, maybe. Deprive yourself of your phone, deprive yourself of video games so that you can focus on the Lord and your relationship with him. That's my challenge for you today and throughout this week. And we will see how that went next week. We'll be back at the same time next week, 10 a.m. I'm going to send stuff earlier than I did this past week, so that'll help you. But every single week we'll be together at 10 a.m. doing live stream and all that. So as we're wrapping up, give me some prayer requests. What are some things that we can pray for the next 3 minutes? I'll give you all some time to jot down some prayer requests, and then we'll end our time together with a prayer. What are some things that we can be praying for together? And I also want to challenge you as you're writing to keep these in your minds throughout the week and keep going back to these things that we can be praying for each other. What can we be praying for this week, guys? What can we be praying for? Chloe said coronavirus. Yes, we'll be praying for that. Anybody on YouTube have any prayer requests? coronavirus, that we get to go back to school soon and that we can get out again. Okay. I thought Alexis meant that we can go back to school again and then get out again, like get out of school again. But she means like getting out in public. Okay. So prayers for healing, prayers for school to be back open. I know you guys miss your classmates. Prayers for sick people. Very good. All right, 1 more minute. Any other prayer requests before we close in a prayer? And if you just came here late, I encourage you to go back and rewatch this if you can. I'm sorry if it's choppy. Also, check out our YouTube channel. I posted a video about kind of summarizing everything that we kind of discussed. There's more details on our Instagram Live, but you can get a snapshot of what we discussed in our video on the YouTube channel. I'm going to try to do more this week. I think I'm going to start doing daily videos for you guys on the YouTube channel. And there'll be about maybe a minute or two, just encouraging you for that day. And I'm giving you some things to think about throughout the week. All right. Any other prayer requests as we get ready to pray at 10:35? Oh, it just hit 10:35. All right. I'll wait 10 seconds to see. And if not, we'll start praying. All right, guys, let's end our time together in prayer. God, I'm so grateful for this time you allowed us to come together virtually. I'm grateful that we can come together on Instagram Live and YouTube Live and talk about your word. I'm so grateful for what your son has taught in Matthew chapter 6 about fasting. God, he has taught us that fasting is more than what we're showing others, but it requires humility. So God, I pray that we can humble ourselves around others. We can humble ourselves when we are fasting so that we can take care of ourselves. And ultimately, we can remember the purpose of fasting, which is to humble ourselves before you. God, I thank you so much for your love. I thank you for all the ways you've allowed us to connect with you and to connect to you. May you give us all a desire to grow in connection with you and to grow in relationship with you. I know sometimes we can let this world get us distracted and lose focus of you and what's important. And I pray that we may have time this week to fast and to distance ourselves from things so that we can focus on what truly matters. And God, in this time of epidemic and pandemic, we're reminded of the coronavirus and the ways that it's affecting things. We're reminded of sick people. And I pray that what we're trying to do as far as containing ourselves, I pray that it can be effective. I pray that we can wash our hands. I pray that we can eat healthy. That way this disease stops. I pray that you bless those that are affected by this disease. May you give them healing. May you give them comfort. May you give their families comfort. I pray that we can get back to school soon and we can be back with our friends and our families and that things can come back to normal. I pray for healing in our economy. I pray for healing with our churches, God. We're really affected by this because we seek communion. We want to be in fellowship with one another. So I pray that things could move quickly. And I pray that you may just give us time to trust you with this whole process, God. This is a very uncertain time. And I experienced this in my own life, God, this idea of uncertainty. But I know that you are a God of stability and you are a God of control. And I'm grateful for that. And I pray that we can trust you with this whole situation. Thank you so much for allowing us to have this little small time to be together. May you bless our weeks. I pray that you bless everyone watching. I pray that we can continue to encourage one another to remember our faith in you and to remember what we know to be true. Thank you so much for loving us, God. As we separate and go our separate ways, I pray that we can remember what we talked about and we can find ways to apply them into our lives. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank y'all so much for being here. Thank y'all for listening. Thank you for being patient with the quality of the internet and all that. I hope you guys have a good week. Text me, call me if you need anything. Tanner calls me like every day, so he really uses that. So don't be afraid to be like Tanner. I'm here for y'all. I miss you so much, and I love y'all. Have a good day. Be safe.